Well, assuming everybody can see us on the internet, we're starting this candidates forum here in Portland, Maine. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Troy Bennett. I work for the Bangor Daily News Portland office. I've worked here for about 10 years now. In the Bangor Daily News, we've had a Portland office for about a dozen years, I think. And I've been asked by the various neighborhood associations to facilitate this little get to know you forum for candidates for city council and the school board and one Portland Water District trustee. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading the stuff that I have to read first. But most of all, thank you all for being here, everyone who's watching and all the candidates who have taken time out of their evening to be here. So anyway, Troy from the Bangor Daily News, and we're using the Bangor Daily News account for this. So I'm going to say the Bangor Daily News aims to bring Maine together through fact-based local journalism that reflects our communities and helps Mainers think through important local issues. In the paper in your hands, on your computer, on your phone, or through conversations in an event like this one we're having right now, when you invest in your local newsroom with a subscription, you invest in your community. And if you look over there in the comments, everybody can see I have dropped in something from the newspaper where you can get 50% off a digital subscription for the next 24 hours. So that's for everybody who's listening. Just use that promo code there. And it also goes for the candidates. If you'd like to have a subscription to the Bangor Daily News online, you too can get 50% off the annual rate. So
have one.
You've got one already. All right. Well, you get extra time tonight then, John. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm Troy. I didn't have anything to do with this. All the hard work has been done by people in their respective neighborhood associations. And I'm going to thank those people right now. From the Parkside Neighborhood Association, I'd like to thank Emma Holder. From the Bayside Neighborhood Association, I'd like to thank Carolyn, Megan, and Robert Sylvain. From the East Bayside Neighborhood Organization, we'd like to thank Ellen Bailey and Cynthia Cochran. From the Munjoy Hill Neighborhood Organization, I'd like to thank Barbara Vestal, Karen Snyder, and Peter Murray. And from the Bangor Daily News, my home office in Bangor, I'd like to thank the people who have helped me with this technically. That would be Joe Easton and Conrad Lum. So what we're going to do tonight, folks, is this is going to not take all that long. And everyone's going to get 2 minutes to introduce themselves and what they're running for, why they're running, what their platform is, what they hope to accomplish. And then we have a series of random questions. We sent everybody a questionnaire, and they were nice enough to fill those out and send them back. And we will post those later. I'll drop a link into the chat where you can find those. And you can also find this this forum. It's being recorded. You'll be able to watch this later too, both at the Bangor Daily News and at a local server provided by Robert Sylvain. And so everyone's going to get 2 minutes to say hello. And then I'm going to ask them one question off this list of questions, some for school board candidates and some for the council, and also one for the Portland Water District Board of Trustees. And that's where we're going to start right now. And we're going to start with Charles Shattuck Hydorn. Charles, I have my timer here on my phone. I'm going to start out and let you speak for 2 minutes about who you are and why you're running. And then I'm going to ask you your random question. All right. So
great. Thank you.
There you go. Tell us who you are.
My name is Charles Shattuck Hydorn. I'm a resident of the Deering Center neighborhood. I live there with my wife and 3 children. 2 of them are in elementary school and the other one's a baby. I am a train conductor for Pan Am Railways, and I've been doing that for about 18 years. All my adult life. It's a union job, and I've been really lucky in that regard to work for a good company. I moved up to Portland 5 years ago. This is where my wife is from. She's a professor at USM, and we just kind of she said it was time to come home to her hometown, and the railroads everywhere. So I just moved right up here. Yeah, I look forward to being on the board. I'm running unopposed, and I think that kind of segues into your question.
It does. The question is, why do you think we have so many municipal officers running unopposed? And is there anything you think there can be done about it?
In fact, this question precisely is why I ran last year against Ken Levinsky. He's a board member currently, and he's a capable, environmentally conscious board member, nice guy. He lives 3 houses away from me. And I ran against him because I feel really strongly that democracy should have opposition in order to function. I think that that's, I mean, obviously, what democracy is all about. Um, Ken is actually the one this year that reached out, one of the people that reached out to me to suggest that I run. And as I was collecting signatures, I kind of suggested to people that signed that they should run if they were interested, and nobody took the bait. And so now I'm running unopposed. I've never really felt represented. Getting to why people don't run, or why there's so many unopposed things. I've never felt represented by my elected officials, and I identify as like a straight white male, and so I can only imagine how underrepresented people feel approaching these political offices. It's intimidating. It's a little bit scary. And I certainly wouldn't have run at all last year if it weren't for my friend's encouragement, who was running for city council that year. Um, and her leadership really helped me kind of discover how to get on the ballot and that kind of thing. And it's that kind of mentorship that's super important. As we welcome more diversity into the municipal offices, I think that kind of mentorship would be amazing to have spread throughout all of our communities, and kind of make sure that this is a grassroots growing operation. I think that would be an amazing change for our government. Another privilege I have is that I am in a household that has 2 full-time working parents that are able to support each other in raising kids. And I know that I can almost guarantee that the compensation for elected officials would not pay for any kind of child care. And that could be a big barrier for people with children. I think that's one place that we could probably support single parents that would like to run for political office.
Your 2
And
minutes, I'm sorry, but your 2 minutes has gone by.
Great. Well,
Charles.
that's my whole spiel. I mean, I think
It is
that
short.
yeah, I think that we really should encourage people to run for office, your neighbors, and that's what happened to me. And so everyone should be doing that.
Awesome. And where can people find out more about you? Do you have a website or a Facebook page?
Nope.
Okay.
You can talk to me. You can call me. You can look me up, and Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or any of these things. But I'm at the board meeting right now. I'm gonna start doing this job. Whether or not you vote for me, it doesn't really matter.
Well, thank you very much, Charles. I really appreciate you having such a thoughtful answer. We
Cool.
appreciate it.
I'm gonna get back to that meeting.
All right. Enjoy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the
Bye.
opportunity. Yep.
No problem.
Bye.
All right. Okay, that's how it's done. So I should point out that question came from the Bayside Neighborhood Association, and we're going to move right on down the list here. And the next person I have on my very random list that I randomly generated with my finger on a legal pad is Anna Trevorrow. Anna, I'm going to start this 2-minute timer, and you can tell us about yourself. So go ahead. And what are you running for?
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Anna Trevorrow. I'm running for the District 1 City Council seat. I grew up in Monmouth, Maine. It's in rural Kennebec County. I was, both of my parents were public school teachers, and I credit that often with the reason why I feel compelled to serve in public office. I grew up believing that we all have a role to play in giving back to our community. I currently live in East Bayside with my partner, State Senator Ben Chipman, and I work downtown at Norman Hanson Detroit as a medical malpractice paralegal. I have been on the school board for the last 8 years. I currently serve as chair of the finance committee. That's something I've done for 3 years. I was chair of the board for 2 years, and I was co-chair of the most recent superintendent search committee. I also served on the 2009 Charter Commission. So I have almost a decade of elected experience, and I think that all of those skills are directly applicable to what the council is facing today. We need to hire a new city manager. There are a number of director positions that need to be filled, and the council is also going through a time of turnover, losing 3 longtime members. So I think that having that finance, going through the budget process, and having the hiring skills for the superintendent will be directly applicable to the work that'll be in front of us right away. You know, issues that I'm talking about, housing affordability is number one. I think that's what's on everybody's mind in Portland. I think that through the hiring of a city manager, it's an opportunity for us to do some kind of vision setting, to think about who we are as a city, what our values are. And I'd like to see that vision kind of commit to accessibility to the working class and to people who are on fixed incomes, who are being priced out of the city currently. And I think that once we kind of commit to that vision, then we can look at kind of all housing policies on the table to figure out what are the policies that are going to get us there. The other thing that I am really passionate about is equity. On the school board, we did professional development in the area of anti-racism and thinking about how internal bias affects our policymaking as elected officials. I'd love to see the council undergo similar professional development. It was super enlightening to me in terms of just how, when we think often that we're responding to our constituents, we may be responding to a subset of our constituents who are kind of versed in navigating the system, and this can lead us to upholding systems of privilege and disadvantage. So I'd love to see that.
Ray, your time, the 2 minutes is over, but
okay. All right,
I'm
that's fine. Thank you.
I just don't want to be a jerk in these things. I think maybe if I hold it up, people can see it, because you need to know the count. You should have a countdown so you know how much time is left. I'm just following the rules, but thank you very much.
Fine.
You have a lot of, I should say that you are, Anna, you're running for District 1 council seat. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes, that's true.
And that's Bayside, Munjo Hill, and the Islands? Yes.
Yes, and downtown.
Right. And some downtown. Yep, that's right. It's hard to describe each district in a concise way because they're very strangely shaped.
They are.
Just like the state districts. Anyway, for you, I have a random question here. And this is, do you support having a new homeless services center in Riverton? And this is a 2-minute question, but do you support having it in Riverton, and why or why not? So there you go.
I do. As you know, there's a referendum on the ballot for smaller shelters. I support smaller shelters in concept. I believe that socioeconomically diverse neighborhoods are healthy communities. But from a humanitarian perspective, I believe that there's an urgency to getting folks out of Oxford Street and into a more dignified facility. I think that the Riverside shelter as planned will meet that goal in a lot of ways. It's a planned housing first model with wraparound services and the goal of getting people out and into long-term housing quickly. It will be a secure facility with transportation. So it's a big step up from where we are now, and I do support going forward with it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And hi, Travis Curran. How are you? Thanks for coming. Just so you know, everyone's getting 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and I'm going to ask him a 2-minute random question. But you're not late because you're a little further down on the list. So thanks for taking the time to be here. And thank you, Anna. I really appreciate that. And you're welcome to stick around, or you can go off the air and listen to the rest of it if you want and become one of the people in the audience. Either way, thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to be thoughtful in a very concise kind of way. I appreciate it. Okay, great. This is going wonderfully. Thank you. And the next person on my list, once again, randomly generated, is Sarah McNevich. And Sarah, you're running also for the same District 1 seat of Bayside, Munjo Hill, the Islands, and some of downtown. Is that correct? Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself in 2 minutes?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Troy. I appreciate that. Yes, and that doesn't seem entirely random, but I'm going to have to trust you on that one.
I swear to God, I swear it was.
Yeah, so my name is Sarah McNevich, and I am running for City Council, District 1. And my husband and I have lived in Bayside for 25 years, both as renters and homeowners. I've worked at local businesses and ran my own small business and even know what it's like to be unemployed. And, you know, Bayside is a very unique neighborhood with unique needs, and those needs were being overlooked by the city. So I spoke up and I got involved. I joined the Bayside Neighborhood Association and was elected president 4 years ago. And those challenges have turned into opportunities to advocate. And in that time, I have fiercely advocated for my neighbors on the issues that matter to them. And I would say there are very few community issues that I haven't had some type of experience with. And that's given me the opportunity to be a part of city processes at all levels. I've brought stakeholders together and built really strong relationships with city staff and counselors, social service providers, small business owners, and other neighborhood organizations with the goal of getting everyone's needs met and ensuring that our future growth supports our shared goals. And as a neighborhood leader, I have participated in the hiring process for heads of city departments, for the head of the Oxford Street Shelter, for the police chief, for the assistant police chief, for the two majors who replaced the assistant police chief after he became the assistant police chief, with working groups and community meetings and pretty much every other form of service that you could imagine. And I'm running for city council because I feel that Portland needs really committed and thoughtful, nonpartisan leaders who focus on common sense solutions to shared problems. And I take a balanced and collaborative approach to finding realistic solutions that are proportionate to Portland's needs. And, you know, as a neighborhood leader, whoops, sorry.
You can finish your thought.
Okay. Well, Portland is, you know, it's an amazing city that's facing a lot of challenges and difficult decisions. And so I think we need to make some really durable, practical, and nonpartisan decisions based on information and reason. And I'm here to be that voice and do that work. And my history as a leader in a really growing and really changing neighborhood has given me the insight and strength and collaborative skills to ask the right questions and challenge assumptions about what it will take to keep Portland affordable and livable and sustainable.
All right, thank you. And I should say to Anna, who and everybody who like goes by, and you can check in, you can check out, but don't forget you can drop into the chat on the side. You can drop in where people can go to find out more about you or how to contact you if they have a specific question. So thank you, Sarah. I have a random question for you down here on my list. And this was provided by the Bayside Neighborhood Association. And this one is, even though these races are nonpartisan specifically, it says, what party do you align with and how will you work to mediate differences between your own party's values and people who may be of another party?
Thank you for that question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying timer.
Okay, yeah.
You're on.
So it's ironic that this comes from my my own neighborhood association, because I really don't like this question. I don't like the way it's framed, but that's what you get for appointing a committee and taking your hands off it. No, I think it's a great question, but in general, I just don't feel that surrounding a candidate with a set of party expectations is helpful at all, the decision making. I think, you know, it's maybe a useful shorthand so that people understand generally where you're coming from, but to me, what's more important is empathy and collaboration and not assumptions and predetermined ideology. And especially in the realm of local municipal decisions, I just don't feel like there's any place for us and them politics, and that, you know, focusing on other people's motivations, it doesn't get the work done, and we're supposed to be here to do the work. That said, I'm a registered Democrat, and I feel that personal values are important. You know, they do light the fire of passion for a cause, but we are all responsible for asking ourselves whether our actions are making it easier to get the work done or harder. And I think that has much less to do with any kind of party affiliation than it does with who we choose to be in each moment. So for me, yeah, the question is framed in a way that is sort of a reflection of that mentality of having to have a us or them mindset. And you know, I mean, I've in my advocacy over the years, I've encountered a lot of hard responses, and almost entirely from people I've never met, which is part of why one of my first line defenses is to just ask people to talk, ask people to come in and have a conversation. One recent example of how I did that was bringing together some neighbors who were concerned about a new development with the developer to try to find some common ground, which they actually did. And that work isn't easy, but it's given me direct experience in building the skills to bring people together to talk things through. And I think asking questions from a variety of sources and really listening to the answers is essential to bridging divides and creating positive and most especially durable outcomes. And I heard your timer, so I'll end it there.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And for anybody, I'm just looking at the number of participants. We're up to 54 people who are tuned in, other than the panelists here. I want to say thank you to all the folks that are tuned in. And if you didn't know already, my name's Troy Bennett, and I work for the Bangor Daily News office here in Portland. Yes, we cover Portland. We cover the whole state. We've got reporters up and down the coast. And very humbled to be asked to take part in this tonight. And we're having candidates give a little 2-minute introduction. Then I ask them a random question off a list of questions, which they've seen before, and they get to answer one of them. And I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you very much, Sarah. And don't forget to put your contact info in the comments if you want. And now we're going to move on. Next person I'm going to call on is John Hink. How are you, John? I can't hear you, John. I think you're on mute. Whoop. Maybe still.
Okay,
There he
I'm
is.
off mute.
That's the way this stuff works. That's another thing I should thank everybody for taking part in these incredibly awkward Zoom meetings that we've all done for the past year and a half. So
I've been on mute before.
yeah, so have I, and so have I. And John, you're running for the District 2 council seat, which includes the West End, a little bit of the St. John Valley neighborhood, which is my neighborhood, I think, and a little bit of Parkside. Is that right? What else is in there?
Parkside and also part of Oakdale.
Oakdale, that's what it is. It sticks out there. All right. So 2 minutes. Tell us who you are, John.
I am John Hink. I, as was just said, am running for City Council for District 2. Thanks to the BDN and the neighborhood associations for hosting this. I have lived in Portland for 25 years with my wife and daughter as a renter and as a homeowner. And before that, lived in 5 states and 3 foreign countries. Just prior to moving here, my wife and I lived in the Republic of Palau, where we worked for the government. I'm trying to imply there's some broad range of experience there, but what I've really gotten to know is how things work here. I spent 3 years in the city council and 6 years in the Maine legislature. The city councilors need to pass the city's budget and need to enact those ordinances that are law for the city. And a very important thing is hiring and potentially, if needed, firing the city manager under the current charter. And all of these things I have done in one form or another in my life before, and I would take them all very seriously. When I served 3 years as a councilor, along with the mayor and one other councilor, we got around to engineering a vote that passed a minimum wage here in Portland for the first time ever, first time any city in Maine had done that. We also put solar panels on a closed landfill that I initiated. We did energy building benchmarking and the fee on plastic bags, which help reduce single-use disposable plastic pollution. I would be ready with another term to help move our city to be more affordable, sustainable, equitable. And I think I better check out. I could go on with that list, but it's 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Thanks,
Thank you
anyhow.
very much. Thank you so much, John. And your question, which comes from the Parkside Neighborhood Association, is what outcome would you like to see in the city's potential new charter?
Oh, yes. When I looked at this question, I thought the most important thing for a candidate for the council to point out is that the council's role on this charter is minimal. a big role in starting the Charter Commission. But at this point, it's in the hands of the Charter Commission. The council will receive it, but basically it goes out to a vote of the people as proposed by the Charter Commission. So I think the important thing for me to say as a council candidate is I would support precisely that set of procedures and the outcome of the vote or votes from the people of Portland, and make sure we do as good a job implementing all the charter changes as possible. It doesn't mean I don't have opinions. I know the Charter Commission is discussing clean elections, and I support that. The Charter Commission has mentioned having a public advocate and a human rights commission, and I agree with that. I also would like to see the Charter Commission change the method by which we're currently counting ranked choice voting. It should be a proportional ranked choice voting system or single transferable form of counting the ranked choice voting. I very much support ranked choice voting. I introduced a bill in 2006 for the governor of Maine to be elected by ranked choice voting. It might have been the first bill ever on that subject. So I just think the system for counting should be better. I think I've covered some of the points that I as a voter would look for, but I don't want to create any confusion that I think that the city council would change the outcome. That's not our job.
Right. Thank you very much. And don't forget to put your info in the chat.
Will do.
All right. Thank you, John Hink, running for the District 2 council seat. We're going to switch over to the school board now. Let's get a school board voice in here. And running for District 1 school board seat is Abusana Bondo. And I'm going to let you have the floor for a moment and tell us about yourself for 2 minutes.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Abusana Mikibondo, and I was born in Congo, Republic Democratic of Congo. And I was raised in Belgium, and I'm a polyglot speaking 4 languages. So I came to the United States 25 years ago, and in Portland, Maine, 12 years ago. I'm a mother of 5, and 3 of my kids, they were former students of the Portland Public School. So I was the mom who've been really helping, supporting the kids to navigate the system of the public school, because I really believe that the public education is the education platform where middle class, low-income families and immigrants can really have a quality education and maybe be some of the first generation to attend college. So we need investment. So everything is happening in the classroom level. So I'm seeking for re-election, because when we writing reform and policies, we need to make sure that implementation is really reaching out to the level of our students in the classroom, and then exposing them to the different opportunities so they can really succeed and be able to thrive beyond our school level. So also make sure that we're building a cultural inclusion for the student and the staff to be able to recognize the diversity that we have, not only in our city, but also in our education state.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The random question that I picked out for you off my legal pad, it sort of goes into that a little bit, the polyglot idea. The question that comes from the Parkside Neighborhood Association. And the question is, should foreign language classes, say French or Spanish or anything, be taught again in elementary schools? They were in the 90s, but they've been cut since then. And how would you pay for it?
Thank you. As a language, everything, like I say, I started learning different language little older, because I really believe that be a young kids in the elementary school, the best way for them to learn is what they're singing and playing and working and learning to more expeditionary platform, because the learning a language is a skill. It's not like learning all different issue. No learning like math or science, but it's something then you really need to have a skill. So we need to prepare our students to be able to to be able to express themselves and learning from a language. Otherwise, it's going to be something they may just learn because they really let them learning as other subjects, but they're never going to master that and never be able to practice that when they're getting older. So I mean, if they miss that young age, for the best time to learn is the middle school, because that time they already master one language, and then they can be able to give more value for learning a different language. So, but if we want to implement that in our elementary school, so we really need to start with a small grant funding program. Like 2 years ago, I sponsored a program in East End, Language Heritage. So those kinds of programs, small spectrum language acquisition, can be really taught to the students and evaluate it, and make sure that is really something that the language teacher can incorporate to the funding formula in the classroom, because otherwise it's not be just linked to a certain budget, because nothing will be so impactful for the large of our students in our elementary school.
Wow, that was perfect. This just went off. Thank you very much. You have a good sense of timing. Thanks very much for that answer. And don't forget, you could put your information in the sidebar as well, where people can find you. I appreciate that. We're going to go switch back to district to the council, and to District 2. That's what it is, which is the West End, St. John Valley neighborhood, a little bit Parkside, and a little bit of Oakdale. And the other candidate there, who is Victoria Pelletier. Victoria, are you ready to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, and I have to say, this is like dodgeball, where I'm just waiting to get
I know.
called, and it's giving me anxiety. Okay, I'm ready. Hi, everybody. My name is Victoria Pelletier. I'm running for City Council for District 2. I grew up in Brunswick. I graduated from Brunswick High School, so I'm a local, and I went away to college in New York, and I have been living in Portland, specifically in the Parkside neighborhood ever since. And currently I work for local government in a nonprofit in racial equity and economic development. And I've been really blessed to have experience in regional planning and public policy. I'm also a board member for In Her Presence and Maine Black Community Development. I am a community facilitator for Integrative Inquiries. I am a BIPOC advisor for Maine Community Foundation. But I think the most important thing is I am a young Parkside resident who is consistently concerned about how much longer I'll be able to live in Portland and work in Portland. And I think one of the biggest issues and buzz phrases that we talk about a lot here in council conversations is affordable housing. I think we all love Portland, but the rising rent and the property taxes are making it really difficult to continue to have all of us living here. And so a big reason why I'm running is I think it's really important that we're having elected leaders who are currently reflecting the issues that we're trying to solve in Portland. And I, like Charles mentioned earlier, I've never really felt represented on city council. And because of that, I think it's really important for me to be able to write my own story and amplify the voices that are consistently forgotten in these conversations. I also think equity is really important. I know that's another thing we all talk about, but it's important as not a popular buzzword that people are using and at times weaponizing, but actually as a concept to push policy that will serve our most under-resourced communities. So I think when we have discussions primarily on housing and climate, which will absolutely affect parts of my Parkside neighborhood along with Bayside and the waterfront, or when we talk about gaps in academia between Black and white students, or affordable housing and supporting the under-resourced, it's really important to have somebody that's living those lives and has a history of community leadership with political freshness to get things done. So thanks for having me. It's nice to meet you.
Well, thanks very much. And if you want a preview who's coming up next, Travis, you're next. So it's not a complete surprise. And then Brandon. So it's good. I'm glad
I named the anxiety of getting.
Yeah, well, no, it's okay. It's our first time doing this. I have a lot of anxiety too. So well, if this all is going to work, we weren't sure. Okay. So Victoria, your question as a person running for the city council. Oh, and this comes from the Parkside Neighborhood Association, so your own. As a city councilor, where would public parks stand in your idea of the city budget, and the city future? So tell us what you think about city parks.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think parks are important. I know that they build a level of social cohesion. They're a really important outdoor space for community conversations. I hold community chats on the prom, which are ways for local Portlanders to get involved in issues. And we utilize parks and green space for all of the community chats that I hold. So I do know that it's an important facet in building community. And what I would love to actually see is an investment, or more of an investment, and collaboration between the city and between some of our minority-led organizations to really expand the usage of mapping, specifically GIS mapping, because I think it's a really important step to also identifying communities that are underserved by parks. And we can also really highlight how we're able to access our parks and green space within a certain mile radius, especially when we're talking about our underserved community. But I also think, to be fully honest, it's really important that if we're talking about parks and pushing for green space, that we're also, and having these green spaces really incorporate climate resilience, that we're also discussing what's called green gentrification, because I think as our city grows in size, we need to be really mindful that we're not transforming these neighborhoods without the input of the residents that actually live there. So I think here we have a large population of Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, and these are people that have contributed the least to climate change and have the least amount of input when we're talking about parks and we're talking about green spaces, but are the most exposed. And so I think if we're talking about pushing parks and pushing for green spaces, we really need to also be prioritizing community conversations that surround residential and social displacement and what that looks like. And I think that comes with pushing climate infrastructure, but also having the education to go with it for our most vulnerable neighborhoods, so everybody feels like they're part of the movement to make Portland great.
All right. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And you can put your information in the sidebar there, where people can find you. And if you're just joining up, my name's Troy Bennett. I work for the Bangor Daily News here in Portland. I'm a writer and a photographer and a film producer, I guess you'd call me. And I've been asked by the several neighborhood associations and organizations in the city to sort of moderate this candidates night. And if you're a candidate and you've had your time in the spotlight, you can hang around or you can go off. Either way, whichever one you like. We're gonna get to some at-large council seats now, and we're gonna start with Travis Curran. Travis is down there, and yeah. So Travis, here's your 2 minutes to say who you are and what you stand for.
Hi, thank you so much, Troy. It's good to see you all again. It's good. Thank you for everyone tuning in. My name is Travis Curran. I've been a lifelong Portland worker. I rent here, I work here. I've done a very many amount of jobs in the restaurant industry and basically every service kind of industry you'd like. I still believe that a elected official is a public servant, so I am looking to be a public servant, and I am looking to serve you. I'm at your service. Let me know if you need anything. I've watched too many of my friends get priced out of Portland through the overdevelopment and high prices of rent. It's all about affordable housing. We need to rezone the outer corridors, bolster our neighborhood centers. We have to zone for less single family unit only zoning, maybe more multifamily units, maybe more mixed use, maybe more better public transit to make sure, less parking requirements, making sure we can get to and from our jobs. If you haven't noticed, everywhere's hiring. My job's hiring. If you'd like to apply, you're welcome to. We need to make sure that Portland is safe for the people that work here to be able to live here. We need everyone every voice at the table. I'm also very for protecting the unhoused community. I'm for small shelters. I voted A. Democrats and Republicans alike have voted for A and endorsed it. Don't get me wrong. We need the Riverton shelter. We need a Riverton facility. We need wraparound services. We need all the services provided, but we also need more. We need more smaller, more humane shelters. 200 beds with all the lights on at night is actually kind of inhumane, and it's not enough. And you have one shuttle that goes. How many seats are on that shuttle? Are we nearby the jobs? No, it's quarter mile away from a bus line, quarter a mile in the middle of January, when you only have a quarter a mile in the middle of January when you are sick and you need to go to the hospital. I'm sorry. Anyways, this was a large topic when I ran for mayor 2 years ago. And so there are other locations available. Angelo's Acres was a great one. we can move forward. It's also all about harm reduction. We need better services. We need resource centers for harm reduction. We need the Overdose Prevention Society. We need the Church of Safe Injection. And I don't like using the term safe injection sites. I like the term overdose prevention. We're talking about the opioid epidemic. We're talking about Deering Oaks. We're talking about people that need help. And it's very easy for the city to help them. We have the American Rescue Plan funds. We have a lot of resources available to us. You'll let the bureaucracy and the status quo tell you that everything is just fine, but everything is not just fine. I see you. Thank you, Troy. Yeah, man, if to everybody that says everything's just fine, I have bad news. You're outnumbered.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for stopping when you see my phone. It's I don't mean to cut anybody off, especially when you're on a roll. But Travis, the question that comes, I've randomly chosen for you off my legal pad earlier today, comes from the East Bayside Neighborhood Association. And it asks, please share your strategies to engage with, inform, listen to the typically, in quotes, unheard from populations of Portland, like working class families, low income residents, renters, people of color, immigrants, and people with disabilities. So what's your strategy to engage with them and to inform them and listen to them?
And it's all about accessibility. I am a friendly guy. I'm a friendly person. I walk up and down Congress Street every day. You don't have to catch me on the sidewalk, though. Yeah, I'll give you my phone number. I'll give you my email address. I will give you every means to access me. I answer my email address. I answer my phone. I have spotty internet here at work, but I will still be able to be in contact with you. It's about community outreach programs. It's all about accessibility. We need every voice we need, every voice we have at the table. We need to be able to engage the community. We need bilingual people involved that are able to communicate for others. We need every voice at the table. The City Hall truly needs a better website. If you ask me, I've used it. We can use a better website. We can use better social media, but we should also get off the digital. We should get more onto analog, more town hall style meetings in different communities and different neighborhood centers. I'd like to go to different neighborhood association meetings. I'd like to go to different community centers. We have to actively engage every member of the population. So every voice is at the table. No one's left behind here. And we have to engage everybody. It's not that hard.
All right. Thanks, Travis. Appreciate it. You're at work right now?
I know I'm in my office.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in and taking the time to do this.
Thank you, though.
No, it's all right. I hadn't thought about that. I can see we're up to 56 people online now, and thanks to all the people who have tuned in to listen to this tonight as well. This is for you. And don't forget to put your information on the side over there, Travis. If you want to put your phone number over there, you can do that, or your email, or your website, and all that. The next person is Brandon Mazer, but after that, it's going to be Emily Figdor, just so you want to get ready. Brandon Mazer, you're also running for an at-large seat on the city council. Is that right? Yes.
Correct.
All right. So, have at it. Tell us who you are.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and great attendance this evening. My name is Brandon Mazer. I'm running for the at-large city council seat being vacated by Councilor Mavadonis. I live up on the East End. I see a lot of my neighbors here this evening, and appreciate everyone coming out. I'm an attorney by practice, focusing on regulatory and compliance issues, breweries, wineries, distilleries. Prior to entering private practice, I was in-house counsel for Shipyard Brewing Company, and did that for almost 10 years. Why am I running? First and foremost, it's really a passion for the city. I grew up here. I did not go to Portland schools, but my grandfather was a Portland firefighter. My dad taught at USM. My mom was a nurse at Brighton Medical before it became part of Maine Med. And I have fond memories of eating at the village with my grandfather, feeding the ducks at Deering Oaks and Evergreen Cemetery, and just really seeing and watching the city become what it is today. The other reason I'm running is I truly believe I have a subject matter expertise that is going to be needed over the next 3 to 5 years for the council. As we've, I think, all heard this evening, affordability, affordable housing, family housing, public transit are all key issues that we've all been talking about. I'm currently serving as the chair of the Portland Planning Board, have been for almost 2 years, have been on the board for for nearly 5. And that is the topic that we are talking about day in and day out at our meetings. We are trying to encourage and incentivize as much affordable housing to be built in the city as we can. Unfortunately, the planning board just gets to implement the policies set by the council. One of the biggest things that the city is undertaking that I think is under the radar is we're currently going through Recode Phase 2. And that's really going to take every neighborhood, every person to get involved to help us redo our zoning and look at a big picture to make Portland as affordable as possible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And the question we've got for you here comes from East Bayside Neighborhood Association. And Brandon, it says, well, it was a little bit of what you were just talking about, but it says, what life experience and or skills would your presence bring to the Portland City Council that would facilitate greater understanding of and empathy for the concerns of Black, Indigenous, immigrant people of color who live, study, and or work in Portland?
Thanks. Great question. We all have our own lived experiences that influence us on a daily basis. I don't want to pretend that my lived experience is any more or less important than anyone else's picture that you see up here this evening. But I do take things with me on a daily basis, and I don't share this story very often, but I've raised it one other time in a similar question. After my parents got divorced, I ended up moving out to Des Moines, Iowa, into a small suburb. I was one of 2 Jewish students in that high school. And during my senior year, there was an underground newspaper that came out with the headline saying, "Dreidel, dreidel, dreidel, you're getting in the way." And it was directed towards me as editor of our school newspaper. And that story has stuck with me, and that experience has stuck with me through everything I do. I try to approach every situation not making assumptions, with an open mind, not assuming I understand anybody's life experience, but to learn from it. I also have been fortunate enough to serve on a number of other boards. I'm on the board, or I just fell off the board of Special Olympics, and those with intellectual disabilities have taught me so much over the last 9 years on that board. So I hope to be able to bring all of my life experiences over the last 35 years of my life to hope and make Portland a better place.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Don't forget to drop your info over there. Am I pointing in the right direction for everybody? For me, it's over there. Or am I pointing in the opposite direction? Yeah, it's backwards. It's over there.
Yeah, backwards.
Sorry. I've been doing that all night. Well, over there in the chat. Thanks very much, Brandon. So we've got 4 people to go. It's going to be Emily Figdor and Roberto Rodriguez and Stuart Tisdale, and then Nylat Biliou at the end. Random order. I just picked these out this afternoon off my pad. Thanks for being here, everybody, and for your patience in getting through this. I'm totally entertained by this because even though I'm a newspaper reporter for the Bangor Daily News here, and this is my job, I'm learning stuff I didn't know. So I really appreciate everybody's input here. So Emily, you're running for the school board in District 2. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Have at it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So hello, everyone. I'm Emily Figdor. I am finishing my first term on the Portland Board of Public Education, and I'm currently chair of the school board. And yes, I'm running for the District 2 seat. Thank you so much to the organizers of this forum and to everyone who has made the time to be here tonight. I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish together to make our schools better and more equitable with such strong support from the community over the last 3 years. But there's much more we need to do for Portland's kids, and that's why I'm running for re-election. I've spent my career, 25 years, working in public policy and organizing for nonprofit organizations. Currently, I'm the lead writer and a senior campaign director at Move On, which is a large grassroots organization, a national organization. For 25 years, this work has involved turning science into public policy and doing it by building coalitions and engaging people in the democratic process. I work hard and am deeply committed to my work and am motivated by a profound belief in our shared humanity and community and justice. I got involved in the Portland schools as a parent and ended up leading the successful campaign to pass the 4-school bond several years back to renovate Portland's 4 rundown elementary schools. And last week, I got to participate in the groundbreaking ceremonies for Reiki and Presumpscot schools as a result of that bond. Later this week, I'll be at the groundbreaking for Longfellow School and the ribbon cutting for Leicester School, which has been absolutely transformed into a 21st century school. It's extraordinary to see and to have been a part of. So I guess you can say that I got hooked, and I think my time's out, but I'll just say that I'm so committed moving forward to the work of the school board, to really confronting equity head on and to making our schools better for all kids across Portland.
All right. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And so the question randomly selected for you comes from East Bayside Neighborhood Association. And it says, what life experience and or skills do you bring to the school board and the Portland Public School community that would facilitate greater understanding of and the empathy for concerns of Portland Public School faculty, staff, students, and parents who are Black, Indigenous, immigrant, or people of color?
Absolutely. Thank you. And first I'll say that I'm humbled by this question, and this is it's a journey that I am on to do anti-racism work, and it's constantly every day a learning process and work that I am so committed to, but that I am always learning about and am committed to continue to do so. I think what I bring are my skills and work experience, 25 years of work experience in organizing, community building, communicating, and policy development. The core work that I've done throughout my career has been really developing policy based on science and community dialogue, and then bringing people together, communicating clearly about what the problem is and what the solution we have at hand is, and then coming together to make that a reality. So I think the skills I have are really confronting problems head on and doing so with skills and experience, and then just a humility and a real respect for and seeing the true strength of our diversity. I feel so fortunate to live in such a diverse community, and appreciate that so much. And it's really central to the work that I've done and that I am wanting to do and committed to do moving forward.
Okay. Thank you very much for that answer. And I'm going to point the correct direction over here towards the chat. If you've got some info you want to drop for people about where they can find you and more about your positions, if you could answer some more questions. Thanks very much. Just to remind everybody, this is being recorded and this will be available afterwards, both at the Bangor Daily News website and at a link I'm going to drop in here before the end, where you can also find the questionnaires that these candidates filled out. And just to introduce myself one last time before we get to the last three people. My name is Troy Bennett. I am a writer and a photographer and a filmmaker for the Bangor Daily News here in Portland. And yes, the Bangor Daily News has an office here in Portland, and we have for about a decade, a little over a decade. I've worked for the Bangor Daily News for a decade or so, and I've lived in Portland for most of my life. Not all my life. Wasn't born here. I was actually born in Portland, now that I think of it. I was born on Brighton Avenue at the Brighton Medical Center, but I grew up in Buxton, about 12 miles that way. But I got to Portland as fast as I could. So thanks very much to everybody. And just one more reminder that over in the chat, up at the top, you'll find a 50% off code if you want to buy a yearly subscription to the Bangor Daily News. And that's good for the next 24 hours. And I won't talk about the Bangor Daily News anymore, but thank you for listening to me. So the next person on my list is Roberto Rodriguez, and you are running for the at-large seat. And if you're ready to go, I'll start your timer.
Ready to go?
All right.
Thank you. So my name is Roberto Rodriguez, and I'm running for the at-large city council seat. I am a small business owner. I also have been a healthcare clinician for the last 17 years, working as a physical therapist. The last 5 of those years working in home health here in Portland. I also have a small family, live here in North Deering. I'm a father of 2 daughters. My oldest daughter is a 24-year-old who lives down in Miami, Florida. And my younger daughter is 13 years old, and she's a student in Lyman Moore Middle School. Over the last 5 years, I've served on the Portland School Board. 2 of those years, I served as chair of the board. I've explained to people that the reason that I'm running to be on the council are the same reasons that I've been working hard on the board. The issues that prevent our students and their families from thriving in our communities are the same societal issues that we're talking about in this campaign, and they require a broad policy effect from policymakers. We're talking about affordability. We're talking about access to amenities, access to public services. In our city, we know that we have inequities. Our outcomes in our schools represent inequities. When we have inequities, we have to work diligently to look at our policies, to look at the people that are involved in decision making, and make sure that their lived experiences are represented in the process. And our outcomes should be our driving principles. And that's what we've done in the school board using our comprehensive plan, which has been centered on equity.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd appreciate that. And your question comes from the Munjoy Hill Neighborhood Association. And it is, are you familiar? This is a good one because I'd like to know the answer to this one myself. Are you familiar with the city's comprehensive plan, or how familiar are you with it? And do you feel it should really be the guiding principle for all policy decisions that the board makes?
Yes, I'm familiar with the comprehensive plan. It's a process that began in 2015 that the council adopted in summer of 2017. And it's supposed to be the guiding principle for all policymaking in the city. I'm a strong believer that comprehensive plans and strategic planning should be the guiding principle for every organization's decision making. And we've had a great example of how to do that successfully in the school department over the last 5 years. My start of service in the school department coincided with our implementation of the current comprehensive plan. It was actually one of the first votes that I casted when I first came in onto the school board. Our comprehensive plan has 4 goals that have specific criteria that we measure and how we advance them. Those 4 goals are equity, whole student, achievement, and people. The centerpiece of that comprehensive plan is equity. We knew that as we developed the comprehensive plan and as we began to advance it via our budgets and allocation of resources, that we were missing one key piece, and that was a fundamental shared understanding with the community of what equity meant. And we saw, as we heard earlier in some of the other comments, that equity was a word that was used and tossed loosely, even in combating some of the investments that we were trying to advance. And so then we went to work and we developed an equity policy that took a broad community community input and feedback process. And then that allowed us to define in a document the word equity and how we apply it then to educational decisions, be it curriculum, personnel, or budget allocations. And that work, that same groundwork that we've done in the school department could be duplicated at the city council level. And so we need to, in our current reality, have a comprehensive plan that's centered on public health, precisely because we are still in the middle of a pandemic. And then when we see the other issues that we've discussed today, affordability and access to public services and access to amenities, we need to focus our comprehensive plans and anti-displacement policy. So when we improve the quality of life in the city, it is us that are currently here that get to enjoy it.
Okay, thank you very much. Right on time. I do appreciate it. And don't forget to put your info in the side if you'd like, about where we can find you or people can find out more about you. We have 2 more to go. We're doing pretty good on time. We're coming up on an hour here. The next person is Stuart Tisdale Jr. And Stuart, you're running for the at-large seat. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself in 2 minutes?
Yes, I'm running for one reason and one reason only, and that's to serve this city where I've gone from being a little kid to a grandparent. I've been a follower of politics for a long time as a citizen and a voter, and also as a teacher. But this is my first foray into politics as a candidate. I seek to be a voice from the middle ground. I want to be pragmatic and collaborative. I will listen to people, see people, focus on what is real and what works. I've lived justice for all. As a public defender and a prisoner rights advocate, I've argued to Maine juries that the constitutional rights of a prisoner were violated by the way he was treated during his sentence. I've gone before the Maine Supreme Judicial Court and argued that a serial killer who grew up in Portland should not be extradited to another state to be executed in the electric chair. I did not have to be those people to want to advocate for them or to be able to advocate for them. As a teacher for 23 years, I know from the history I taught that divisive periods in society can be harnessed by leadership that is open to the possibilities into creative tensions that move the society forward. And communities can thrive and experience golden ages even when they value each other and work from a common plan. My model of good government comes from my classroom experience. Just as a teacher must serve the needs of all his students, a government should try to meet the needs of all its people. Within the constraints of limited resources, compromise will be possible, will be inevitable probably. So government needs to follow up with explaining outcomes in a way that people can see as fair, because no one can be expected to tolerate unfairness. As I said, I want to serve. I believe I have the insight and the wisdom from a long and varied experience here to do that well.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And the question for you comes from the Munjoy Hill Neighborhood Association as well, randomly chosen by me and my legal pad. It says, do you support stricter enforcement of regulations governing short-term rentals and or some of the reforms sought in that narrowly defeated referendum on short-term rentals that was up a couple years ago, or a year ago?
Yes, I favor stricter enforcement, and I favor rescinding at a future day when it's possible, rescinding some of those regulations. I think to have 400. I mean, we certainly need no more than 400 unhosted short-term rentals, and we should probably have a lot fewer. That seems to me to take way too many potential family residences off the market for people, for potential home buyers. If you just as a way of conceptualizing how many that is, 400 divided by the 5 districts in the city is 80 per district, and to imagine 80 homes in District 4 where I live, Deering Center, taken off the market, made inaccessible for young families who want to buy in, I think is way too many. And I would also up the fees so that developers have to pay more to buy houses and turn them into little covert motels. But to me, a hosted short-term rental where somebody uses a room or a floor in the house where they live, that is permissible on the principle that people ought to do with their property as they see fit. So I don't like the short-term rental situation as it is. I would be more open to encouraging hotels that would help bring down the price of a hotel room than to encourage short-term rentals. Although they do serve a purpose, because sometimes Portland people need a place to live for a few months and they don't want to have to be committed to a one-year lease. But I think the short-term rentals are bad for Portland, and we should not worry about incentivizing the creation of any more, rather less.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, all right. Oh, don't forget to put your info in the side, if you would. And one last person to hear from tonight. Thank you so much for waiting and being last. It was only random. I had to put them in a certain order. I knew it would be a long wait for somebody, but this is Nylat Biliu, if I got your name right. And so tell us in a couple of minutes about yourself. Oh, and you're running for the what are you running? You're running for the at-large seat as well. No, you're running for the at-large school board seat, right? Yes.
Yep.
All right.
And I'm thankfully running unopposed, so that's great. But I still am very thankful and happy to have this opportunity to talk with Portland Citizens and some neighborhoods association. So my name is Nyla Biliu. I am running for the at-large seat on the Portland School Board. I ran last year. It wasn't as successful, so I thought, why not try again? I was born in Ethiopia. I was born in a refugee camp in Ethiopia that my parents migrated to in 1993 from South Sudan. And then after being born and somewhat raised in Ethiopia, we migrated to the US about 2005. So I've lived in Portland since then. I grew up here. Essentially, I was about 9 years old when I came here. I'm a first generation immigrant. I am also an alumni of Portland Public Schools. I went to Riverton Elementary School. I went to Lincoln Middle School, and I went to Deering. I've lived most of my young or youth ages and now young adult ages in Portland. I love my community. I love the diversity here. I'm a community organizer. I'm very passionate about social, environmental, and economic justice. It's both a hobby and my daily work as well. I work at Good Shepherd Food Bank as a food justice advocate, working to create opportunity to have people who have lived experiences be at the table and utilizing their experiences with food insecurity on a day-to-day basis to influence policy. So I think I have the experiences, the lived experiences, the educational experiences. I also went to USM to study political science. So I think I'm the best option for this seat. I think it's a great opportunity to hear the input and impact of what students go to on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, thank
Sorry
you.
for taking more time, but I mean,
No,
I'm the last one, right? So
yeah, no, everybody gets to finish their thought. It's okay. It's all right. But the very last question that we had for you, this one also comes from the Munjoy Hill Neighborhood Association, random question for you off the questionnaire, is so approximately 25% of Portlanders have children in the public school system. And as such, do you feel the school board should have autonomy to make school decisions without going to the city council, which would be representing the other 75% of Portlanders who don't have children? Does that make sense to you? So there's 25% of Portlanders have children who are going to public school, and 75% don't. So should the school board have more autonomy to make decisions without the council?
Yeah, I think that is something that, yeah, I fully agree and fully support that. And I think the school board should have full autonomy because, like we saw with the budget, the city council can really restrict the ways in which school board members are able to provide for their constituents and the people that go to their school systems. So I think there is a huge barrier with that, because going back to have to ask folks that aren't as involved in your day-to-day work and that don't really understand the type of policies that you're trying to create, but then having them have that decision of like how much money you get and like what money goes where and what is allocated where, I think that creates a huge barrier for school board members to be able to create a vision that they want and it be supported. And like you said, 20% of Portlanders, 20% of Portlanders kids go to the school system. So I think full autonomy is something that would really create smooth policy and perhaps more involvement, because you can really focus on those folks that do have kids at the school system. And this was also an issue with that I had a lot with canvassing, is people would always tell me that they don't have kids in the school system, so they don't really care. They don't really care about the school board, or they don't really care to get involved. So I think that's also a barrier too, because we're not getting huge involvements, and we're not getting people to show up to give us input, to have that representation, and to be able to speak on the policies that we would be making. I hope that answers it.
It does for me. Thank you. And thanks for waiting the hour to get your 4 minutes. So we do appreciate it. I think I'm heartened as a Portland resident, as a resident of the St. John Valley neighborhood, to see all the choices that Portland gets to make here next Tuesday. And I think whatever happens will be in really good hands. Thanks to everybody who spent an hour here with us, everybody who is watching, and to all the candidates for school board, for the city council, and for the public, the water trustee seat, for taking part of your evening to be part of this and to speak directly to some folks. Also, thanks to the Parkside Neighborhood Association, the Bayside Neighborhood Association, the East Bayside Neighborhood Organization, the Munjoy Hill Neighborhood Organization, and my company, the Bangor Daily News, for putting this on. I'm going to drop in the comments right now. Everybody look at this. This is the link where you can find this video sometime probably in the near future. I'm not really sure when, but before next week. And you can also find the questionnaires that all the candidates filled out in there. Everybody answered all of these questions. Hopefully they did, and they'll be there. And also you can see this video at the Bangor Daily News website later tonight. I'll be uploading this as we speak, or not as we speak, shortly after we speak. So I've been Troy Bennett from the Bangor Daily News Portland office, and you've been lots of really involved citizens and candidates, and I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, give yourselves a hand. That's all right. And good luck to everybody next week, and we'll read the Bangor Daily News. All right, see you later. Bye now.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye now.
All right.